everybody. Today at the Aspiring Home Cook, we're going to make some beef mince. This is a savory recipe, an Indian one. It's also called beef keema and is super versatile. Towards the end of the video, we're going to look at a few ways that we can use this mince. So let's move on to the ingredients. Here's what you'll need to make today's recipe of beef mince. We'll use some powdered and some whole spices. Let's start with the whole. About 5 to 8 peppercorns, black peppercorns, an inch or two of cinnamon, 6 cloves, curry leaves, about 6 to 8 fresh curry leaves, and 2 chillies, fresh chillies, finely chopped. That's optional based on your spice tolerance. 1 teaspoon ginger paste, 1 teaspoon garlic paste, 1.5 teaspoons garam masala, 1.5 teaspoon red chili powder, half a teaspoon turmeric powder. You're going to need Worcestershire sauce. I've used about 3 tablespoons in all, half a kilo regular beef mince, 1 large onion, some fresh coriander, and about 1/3 of a cup green peas. I've used some frozen green peas here, but if you've got fresh, even better, you can use that. We'll also need some pantry staples like oil and salt and pepper. Now place your pan on a medium-high heat. To that we're going to add 2 tablespoons of cooking oil. I use olive oil for most of my cooking, so that's what I've used over here. Now you're going to let that oil warm up a little. Once it seems warm, carefully add in your whole spices. That's your peppercorns, your cinnamon, and your cloves. Be careful, stand back while you add the spices in. If your oil is hot enough, it will sputter and your spices would pop pretty much like popcorn. You don't want that coming on you. Just like that. Once everything has warmed through, add in the curry leaves and your chopped fresh chili. Now this is optional. We like our food spicy, so I've added about 3 chilies in all. You can leave that out if you don't want your mince to be spicy. Let that all heat through, stir it around a couple of times. Now you're going to add your finely chopped onion. I've used 1 large onion, which is about 1 to 1.25 cup worth of chopped onions. Now the onions add all the flavor, or at least most of the flavor, to this dish, which is why we are being a little generous with the portion of onions used. You're going to stir that around a little and let that cook a little and soften. You're not looking to caramelize the onions. You're not looking for the onions to go golden brown. You're just looking for them to soften up a bit and get the cooking process started. In about a minute's time, this is what your onions will look like. Now at this stage, you know that you're ready to add the rest of your aromatics. The onions will have softened a tiny bit and they're ready to proceed. So you want to make sure your heat is not very high. A medium heat would do just fine, and add in your ginger and garlic pastes. Now stir that through, making sure that then it hasn't just clumped together. You're going to cook off your ginger and garlic paste for about, I'd say, a minute's time. Your ginger and garlic can burn and stick to the bottom of the pan, so you want to make sure that you're present at all times when you're cooking this part of the recipe. In about a minute and a half, this is what your onions would look like. They will have started to caramelize just around the edges and started to go just a tiny bit brown, like you can see in the pan. Now is when you need to add your powdered spices. It is handy to have everything out ready so that you can quickly keep adding them to the pot. Your spices can burn, so don't step away from the pan for too long and make sure your heat is still at a medium level. In goes half teaspoon of turmeric powder. We typically add the turmeric powder first because that needs to cook off a tiny bit more than the other spices. You now add your red chili powder. This is a Kashmiri chili powder, which is mild, and these chilies are known more for their flavor and their ability to add color to a dish, not their heat level. If you don't have that at hand, any mild chili powder will do. You're also going to add in your garam masala powder and some freshly cracked black pepper. Stir that around, making sure your spices have mixed through. And at this point, you're going to deglaze your pan with a tiny bit of water, about 1 or 2 tablespoons at the most. This will prevent your spices from burning. At the same time, it'll also ensure that they're cooking through and releasing their aromatics like they're normally meant to. Now is when we're ready for our beef. We've made sure that the spices have mixed through the onions and the ginger garlic. In goes your beef mince. This is half a kilo of regular beef mince. We're now going to let the beef mince mix thoroughly with the spices and that onion base. And at the same time, we're going to make sure that we brown that beef mince off thoroughly. You're going to stir that. It in all will take, I'd say, about 2 minutes to get to this stage. We're almost there. You want to make sure that you're breaking the mince up into tiny pieces and make sure that all of it is thoroughly browned. Once that has happened, you are now ready to add the seasoning to the pot. Some salt to taste, and you're going to stir that around. You can obviously adjust the level of salt towards the end of the cooking process, so make sure you're not putting in too much right now. It's always better to go easy at first and add some later rather than be faced with a situation where you've got too much salt. That's a lot harder to rectify. Give it a stir, and now add your Worcestershire sauce. I really like what Worcestershire sauce does to savory mince. And as soon as the sauce hits the pan, you'll be hit with a heady aroma. It tends to round off the flavors in the pan, so don't get alarmed at the quantity of Worcestershire sauce I'm using. It is well balanced. It's a little bit sweet, a little bit tangy, and it's got a whole lot of wow. Once you've stirred that around, you're ready to add your green peas. You can also choose to use cubed potatoes in the beef mince recipe, and this is where you'd add it in if you're serving your mince with rice or bread or chapatis. I intend using this mince eventually to make some potato chops, so I've left the potatoes out of the pot this time around. But anyway, if you're using it, this is when you would add it. Stir everything in the pot really well, but gently. And now you're going to add the liquid to the pot. I use between 3/4 of a cup to 1 cup of water, and I add in about 2 stages. Add about half a cup's water first, stir that around, and then add the rest of the water in. You're now going to bring that pot back to a boil. You'll notice little bubbles on the top like this. At this stage, cover the pot, lower your heat to a simmer. So you're looking for a low heat here for about 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, carefully open the pot, stir it around. You don't want the beef to catch at the bottom of the pan. So you're going to stir it around really well. And this is the perfect time to check for seasoning. Now is when you'd adjust your salt levels, so you'd add a little more salt if you need to, and a little more Worcestershire sauce as well. If you like your mince on the tangy side, add some apple cider vinegar to the pot or any other vinegar of your choice. For me, the Worcestershire sauce does it all, so I really don't feel the need to add any more vinegar to the pot, but again, I'd leave that up to you. Once you've adjusted the seasoning, I'd let everything else simmer for about another 5 minutes, and you're ready to take your pot off the heat then. At this stage, if you feel that there's way too much liquid in the pot, cook it uncovered for the rest of those 5 minutes. If you're all right with the liquid in the pot, pop the lid back on and let it cook through. I'm using this mince initially to serve with some crusty bread for dinner, and I'm also going to be making some potato chops out of it next. So I'm going to leave a little liquid in the pot at this point. Once you take it off the heat, add your chopped coriander, stalk and leaf, and stir that through. This adds a nice fresh element to the mince. And your beef mince is ready. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for upcoming videos. We are going to make some potato chops using this beef mince in the next video, so don't forget to come back. I'd also really love if you could share this video with family and friends. Thanks for watching. Bye now.